John King. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. How are you?
I am great, Peter. It's Friday.
Yes.
The actual best day of the week.
Yeah, there you go. All right. And joining us on the telephone, as she does every Friday, is the Missoula County Attorney, Kirsten Pabst. Good morning, Kirsten.
Good morning, Peter. Good morning, John.
So,
Good morning.
do you have any fabulous Labor Day plans, or are you just going to have your nose to the grindstone all weekend?
Well, you know, we kind of have a family tradition of going out to the Helmville Rodeo and then spending a day up in the Sealy Swan area. So the weather holds. We'll probably still do that.
Cool. All right. So I understand that one of the things you wanted to talk about today was a plethora of DUIs that are coming in. What's going on with that?
You know, Labor Day is a good time, I think, to have a discussion, a community-wide discussion about DUIs, because we really focus on the tickets that are coming in and people getting convicted of DUI, but we kind of forget the big picture and why we're so concerned about DUI, and that's because of the people that die as a direct result of DUIs. And my first big case when I became a prosecutor many, many years ago involved, and some of you may remember this, there was a woman walking up Van Buren Street with her young children,
I remember
girl,
that.
one in each hand. And
right, it was winter time, right?
It was the winter time. It was spring, and we had a lot of snow that year with big berms, and it forced them to walk a little bit further out into the roadway because the sidewalks were covered. And a drunk driver came along and hit the mom. She flew into the air and died in front of her kids. The driver went and hid his vehicle for several days.
I remember.
Until he sobered up and then ended up coming out. And without going into too many of the details, it just really made a big impact on me. And I'd been prosecuting misdemeanor DUIs up until that point, and it was then where it came over me. This is why we do this. This is why we care, because of these kids now that have no mother, this mother that lost her life tragically. Just in August, in Missoula County, we had 98 DUIs. 8 of those were felonies. The rest were misdemeanors.
Now, this is Missoula County, right?
This is Missoula County and Missoula City combined.
Real quick, just so we all are clear, what's the difference between a felony DUI and a misdemeanor DUI? Is it more alcohol in the system, or is it the number of times you've done this, or a combination?
And there's aggravated DUI as well, right?
There is, but John, that's a great question. There's no difference between a first offense DUI and a felony DUI, other than once it's a fourth or subsequent offense, it becomes a felony. So if you've got a fourth, fifth, sixth, we've seen 13th offense DUI. Those are felonies. But I visited with some friends at the Highway Patrol, and this last week, kind of preparing for this, and what they told me was really kind of shocking. We know it's true, but in the last 5 years, Missoula County has seen 24 DUI fatalities. That's 24 families profoundly affected by the death of a loved one because of a DUI. I
remember a couple of years ago up by the church on top of Hillview Way, a car full of kids went flying off that cliff, and at least I think 2 or 3 fatalities in that, and that was a DUI incident as well.
It was, Peter. I drive by that every morning.
Yeah, I go to church every Sunday, and there it is, all those posts with the flowers and the teddy bears, and they're still there several years later. It would be nice if they didn't have to be there at all.
So without sounding too preachy, because, we want everyone to have a good time and to celebrate with their friends and family, but just make those arrangements ahead of time. Plan it out. Know who's going to drive you home. Get a cab. Call a friend. Call one of the free services that will come and pick you up.
Sure. Now, anything else you want to talk about since this is the end of the week report from the county attorney's office?
Well, we've had sort of I don't want to call it an average week because any crime is too much crime, but we filed 20 new criminal complaints this last week. 3 of those were domestic. There was 1 sexual crime, 4 violent crimes, and then 4 methamphetamine-related crimes. So.
Wow, that keeps ticking, huh?
It keeps ticking.
I wanted to go back real quick. We were speaking about DUIs in Missoula. Are you noticing a growth in the number of DUIs compared to the past, or is this something that's always haunted us?
You know, it's something that's always been a real problem for Montana for some reason. We've seen the numbers kind of ebb and flow, but there's been a huge increase in the last couple of years. It's something that the legislature tries to deal with every session. We're trying to deal with it on a proactive, kind of a social education level, as well as a kind of a harsh response from the criminal justice system.
All right. Well, Kirsten, always a pleasure to visit with you, although sometimes you have to deliver some bad news, but we appreciate the work you guys do.
Thank you, Peter, very much. Have a great weekend.
Hey, listen, hang on the phone just a second, okay?
Okay.
Don't go away. We're going to come right back with more of Talk Back in a moment. 721-1290 is our number. Lots going on in Missoula. We'll be right back. What?
I also have Grizz tickets to give away today.
Ooh.
I'll tell you when to call. We're going to have a fun little contest, but it'll come later.
Okay, stay with us. And we're back on Talk Back. It is Friday, and it's open phones, 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309, and interesting conversation there with Kirsten Pabst.
Yeah, we just had an emotional call from a listener.
Okay.
He didn't want to go live with us, but he
All right.
said, hey, I just noticed we had this impactful discussion about DUIs and death and destruction, and then right after that, there's a commercial about beer and liquor in Missoula.
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't hear you. Here's my problem with that.
Okay.
It's like saying, we've had a murder with a gun downtown, and then there's an advertisement that sells, for Selway Armory, and they're selling guns.
Right.
Isn't there a connection here? No, the connection is the person that chooses to over-imbibe and drive and kill people.
Okay.
It's a personal freedom thing.
Yeah. All right. I understand. I hear you. I guess because I'm a non-drinker.
Sure, you have a sense of superiority on this one?
No, I don't have at all. I don't at all. I've never understood. I've never understood that culture. I don't get it. I don't understand what is fun about getting sloshed, not remembering what you did.
But you don't have to get sloshed and not remember what you did to have a beer.
Okay. All right.
I mean, really, you don't. Ask Jesus. He served wine.
He made some pretty good stuff, from what I understand.
Right. I mean, you don't have to. There is a culture like that.
Right.
And there's a culture where you drive around with guns and shoot street signs.
Right.
But that's not the entire culture.
Okay.
Right? I mean, there's responsible ways and irresponsible ways.
Very, very good point. All right. So what do you think?
Okay.
If you want to join in on that conversation, you're certainly welcome to. But you know me, I'm hopelessly old. But anyway, so what did you want to talk about today?
Okay. Well, before we get too far, I have some Grizz tickets to give away.
Yes, you do.
First two callers to call in, they're going to play against each other in a little game I've drawn up called "Are You Smarter Than a Presidential Candidate?"
So the first two callers.
Yeah, first two callers, 721-1290. You will need to pick up these tickets before 1 o'clock today because they're shutting the doors down because everyone's going away for Labor Day.
Right.
721-1290. I'll take care of that.
Wow. Boom, boom, boom. All right. 721-1290 is our number. 1-800-568-5309. We'll go ahead and take our 20 break now so John can get his contestants ready to go. Are you smarter than a presidential candidate? So we'll see who answers the most questions and gets the 2 tickets to tomorrow night's Cal Poly San Luis Obispo game. So stay with us. We're going to come right back.
You're one of the 2 candidates, yes.
Hey, welcome back to Talk Back. It is Friday, and it's time to play a brand new game, ladies and gentlemen, that John King has just invented. Are you smarter than a presidential candidate, right?
That's right. We have 2 contestants on the line.
We have Dina. Good morning, Dina.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
All right, and on the other line, we have Mike. Hey, Mike.
How you guys doing?
Fantastic. So you guys ready to duke it out here?
Let's go.
All right. Now, Dina and Mike, every election year, some presidential candidate will get stumped by a question on foreign policy, right? They'll be asked who the governor of Sweden is or the mayor of Manhattan. Then they'll get tricked by not knowing it was a trick question or whatever. These are not trick questions. I'm going to give you the name of a person, and you need to tell me what organization or country they're in charge of. Okay? So, for example, if I say America, the United States of America, the answer would be President Obama. Or the reverse, if I said President Obama, the answer would be the United States of America. Okay?
Okie dokie.
All right, so I'm going to name a person, and you're going to tell me what they're in charge of. Ready?
Now, is this the first one who answers first?
There's going to be, there'll be a tiebreaker.
All right.
Okay, so there will be 3 questions. 3 questions.
All right.
The first person to answer it correctly gets the point.
All right.
Okay.
So you guys listening very closely.
There's a good chance no one gets anything right? And then we'll come up with something else.
Okay.
All right. So, the first one, Hassan Nasrallah.
Hassan?
President of Iran.
No.
You want to take a stab at it, Dina?
Pakistan?
Sorry, what was that?
Pakistan?
No. Then it's not a country. That's your first hint. It's in charge of something, but not a country.
Not a country.
Not a country. Either of you can answer first, since you've both answered once. All right, we're going to pass.
International IAEA.
No, it's not that. All right, we're going to go to another one. I think this is maybe the easiest one on the list.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi.
President of Iran.
No.
ISIS.
You got it.
All right, good job. Dina has
All
a
right.
point. Dina has a point. Okay.
All right. And this is the one that a particular candidate got stumped on.
All right, here we go.
All right. Actually, he got stumped on all these. But. General Qasem Soleimani.
General Qasem Soleimani.
Yep, I got that. Oh. Well, I'm pretty sure he's not the president of Iran, so...
Well, that would have been third time's the charm, though, wouldn't it?
So what do you think, Dina? Any clue?
Nope.
You got me.
Oh, all right. Mike, you would have you were the closest if you had guessed Iran again. Because he's the head of the Quds Force in Iran.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Geographically acceptable.
Okay, Dina still leads 1 point to nothing.
That's 3 questions. I mean, I could throw out some other ones, but I don't. Okay, I'll throw it out there. If you guys have it, I'll give you a bonus. Abu Muhammad al-Julani.
President of Iran.
No.
All right, I think we have a winner.
Yeah,
right.
I think we have our winner.
Guys do.
All right.
Well done.
Thanks.
Good job,
Thanks for
Dina.
the call, Mike. Now, Dina, I want you to hang on the phone just a second. John has to get your vital information. Okay.
Okay.
So stand by. Don't go away.
Now, do you want to listen to President Trump or presidential candidate Trump try to answer these same questions?
Sure. Now, which one is that here? Trump, not the Trump breast Trump.
Nope.
Trump foreign
There
policy.
you go. Trump foreign policy.
Okay, here we go. So this is from the Hugh Hewitt Show, and this is what Donald Trump had to say about guessing foreign leaders. Here we go.
Are you familiar with General Soleimani?
Yes. Go ahead. Give me a little. Go ahead. Tell me.
He runs the Quds forces.
Yes. Okay. Right.
Do you expect
And I
his
think the
behavior?
Kurds, by the way, have been horribly mistreated by us.
No, not the Kurds. The Quds forces, the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Quds forces, the bad guys.
Right.
Do you expect his behavior to change
I thought
as a
you
result?
said Kurds.
No. Quds.
I'm
Quds.
sorry. I thought you said Kurds because I think the Kurds have been very poorly treated by us. Go ahead.
Agreed. So Soleimani runs the Quds forces. Do you expect his behavior is going to change as a result of this deal with Iran?
I think that Iran right now is in the driver's seat to do whatever they want to do. I think what's happening with Iran is, I think it's one of the, and I covered it very well. I assume you saw the news conference. I think Iran it's one of the great deals ever made for them. I think it's one of the most incompetent contracts I've ever seen. I'm not just talking about defense. I'm not talking about a contract with another country. I've never seen more of a one-sided deal, I think, in my life. Absolutely.
Well, Soleimani is to terrorism sort of what Trump is to real estate. He's many people would say he's the most dangerous man in the world, and he runs the Quds forces, which is their Navy SEAL. Do you think they're going to stop?
The gentleman that was going back and forth with Russia and meeting with Putin, I read something, and that seems to be also where he's at. He's going back and forth, meeting with other countries, et cetera, et cetera.
That's the guy. And so, do you think
not good for us? And what it shows is a total lack of respect. I mean, that the other countries would even be entertaining him, and they're entertaining him big league. Big league.
On the front of Islamist terrorism, I'm looking for the next commander-in-chief to know who Hassan Nasrallah is, and Zawahiri, and al-Julani, and al-Baghdadi. Do you know the players without a scorecard yet, Donald Trump?
No, I'll tell you honestly, I think by the time we get to office, they'll all be changed. They'll be all gone. I knew you're going to ask me things like this, and there's no reason because, number one, I will hopefully find General Douglas MacArthur in the pack. I will find whoever it is that I'll find, but they're all changing you. Those are like history questions. Do you know this one? Do you know that one?
I don't believe in gotcha questions. I'm not trying to, quiz you on who the worst guy in the world
question,
is.
Though. I mean, when you're asking me about who's running this, that is not. I will be so good at the military, your head will spin. But obviously, I'm not meeting these people. I'm not seeing these people. Now, it probably will be a lot of changes as you go along. There'll be, by the time we get there, which is still a pretty long period of time. You start. Let's say you figure out nominations and who is going to represent the Republicans in. Let's say February, March, April, you'll start to get pretty good ideas, maybe sooner than that, actually. But that will be a whole new group of people. I think what is really important is to pick out, and this is something I'm so good at, to pick out who is going to be the best person to represent us militarily. Because we have some great people militarily. I don't know that we're using them. Boy, the names you just mentioned, they probably won't even be there in 6 months or a year.
Yeah, I don't know. Nasrallah's got such staying power. And so I think
let's
the
see what
difference...
happens. And you know what? In that case, first day in office or before then, right at the day after the election, I'll know more about it than you will ever know. That I can tell you.
I hope so. Last question. So the difference between Hezbollah and Hamas does not matter to you yet, but it will.
It will when it's appropriate. I will know more about it than you know, and believe me, it won't take me long.
But
I
believe.
Right now, I think it's just something that... And you know what? If you ask these candidates, nobody's going to be able to give you an answer. I mean, there may be one that studied it because they're expecting a fresh question from you. But believe me, it won't matter. I will know far more than you know within 24 hours after I get the job.
Okay. Well, there you go.
What's great about that is that was a taped pre-recording before his show.
Right.
And then during the live show, he had Carly Fiorina on. And just to see if he was asking gotcha question or not, he asked Carly the same questions. I listened to the interview. I'm not going to play it because I don't think she did an expert job of handling it. I mean, she wasn't going to blow you away.
Right.
She did pretty good job, especially when it came to Soleimani. She had him down pretty well. He knew that he wasn't the head of the Kurds, for example. But
Coots, Kurds, whatever. Crying out loud. How are you supposed to know? I don't have a program here. Give me a program.
But she did answer that question and others a little bit better than Trump did. I just thought that Trump's ending to that conversation was so pompous. And I was actually kind of impressed that Hugh Hewitt handled it so well. I mean, he wasn't upset or angry, but the guy's like, oh, I'll know more than you as soon as I get in office because it's a magic chair that suddenly invigorates my brain to understand things I've been looking at in the papers for years.
John, take it easy, man. I know you don't. I know you despise Donald Trump. I know you don't like him at all. But let me tell you, I would say the majority of people that enter that office have no idea who they're going to be dealing with on a day-to-day level. That's why they have secretaries of state. That's why they have advisors. Sure. That's why Ronald Reagan said, I surround myself with people that are smarter than me so that they can advise me on the right way to conduct policy. So, I mean, don't you expect that's what any, hopefully, quote, good, unquote, president would do, whether it's a Republican or Democrat?
Sure, but, I mean, I'm no presidential candidate, and neither are you, but you know who Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is. You know who Zawahiri is.
Yeah.
I mean, you know who these people are. Don't you expect someone who's going to be running the country to know more than a radio host?
Because I'm in the news business.
You're not in the Afghanistan news business or the Iraqi or Iranian news business.
And you know what? We do a daily talk show for crying out loud. So anyway, we should know a little bit more, I would hope, than your average real estate developer. Which is really all Donald Trump is. He's a businessman and a real estate developer. And he's kind of an icon right now.
And maybe that's all he should be.
Well, anyway, 721-1290 is our number. We're up against a break. 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. We're going to come right back right after this. We're back, and it is Friday. Labor Day weekend stretches before us. So you guys going to get out of town? What are you going to do?
I don't know. I was thinking about maybe taking a trip over to Silverwood. if I don't, I might go play in the Sealy Swan, just like Kirsten.
Well, yeah, there you go.
Maybe I'll go hang out with Kirsten over the weekend.
All right, so
Find out what's going on at the sheriff's office behind the scenes.
Yeah, let's get right to the phone and say good morning to Walt. Walt, what's up? How are you, sir?
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Fabulastic. So who is Abdul Samarani? I don't know. So, so what's on your mind?
Oh, well, I just gotta give John a bad time about his critique of Mr. Trump, the Trumpster.
Okay.
Sure. Well, just picture Trumpster's office, and he's got 1, 2, or 3 layers of or floors,
right,
of an office building that have employees working for him, and just picture that those are CPAs, attorneys, and financial executives, and you name it. And so, if he's got a topic and he gives them a project to do, you don't believe that he doesn't have the staff and resources to go study something and have a report on his desk within a week or even hours?
No, I think he's a very intelligent guy. I think he'd be very good. I think he is actually good at one of the things he claims to be good at, which is not micromanaging, but appointing people to top positions.
Sure.
Yeah, but he's
sure, but real quick, Walt. Right, to be good at that, you have to know what you want to do. And we have no clue what Donald Trump wants to do on foreign policy, and neither does he, frankly, at this point, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But, I mean, if somebody's asking him a question about what to do in Syria, he's going to, if if he's elected, you don't think he's going to have his staff filling him in, and he's already going to be prepared?
Well, look, you have to have some kind of idea, right? I mean, his response on foreign policy in the Middle East was, we're going to go over there and get the oil. Okay.
Yeah, but do you think
well, how's that going to work?
Well, you have to remember the title of the president is the chief, Walt? The
chief executive
chief
officer.
Executive. He's the chief executive. He's the one that appoints people and hires people and sends people and then once he gets the information, then he makes the decision. Isn't that what an executive does?
If Hillary gets it, it'd be chief exonerated officer.
Yeah, but the point is he's got that right now, whereas most of the candidates do not. They would get it once they're in place, but it would take weeks and months for those people to get up to speed. He's already there.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's my point.
Okay, Walt.
I don't doubt that he has a good skill in that.
Thanks,
I don't disagree there.
Have a good one. All right, let's get Emmett on the line. Good morning, Emmett. What's up?
Oh, thanks. For taking my call. I'd like to change gears, actually, and talk about something else.
All right.
I'm very disturbed by the person who was arrested in Kentucky, the clerk, for refusing to issue any marriage licenses. I agree with Mike Huckabee. This is the criminalization of Christianity. Now, I know people saying, well, she was hired to do a job. She swore to obey the laws. She has to do this. Well,
she wasn't hired. She was elected.
Well, elected.
She ran, by the way, as a Democrat to that position, won the election, and it was put in there by the people.
And we never expected a day in America where same-sex marriage would be the law of the land. She's a Christian. She has to obey God first rather than man. All they would need to do...
Emmett, let me just throw something out here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We just found out yesterday that she has a staff of at least, I think, 6 or 7 deputies underneath her, okay? All she would have had to do is to say, you know what? Because of my religious objections, I am not going to do that, but I have a staff of 6 others who are willing to step up to the counter and sign you up.
Sure.
I never thought of that.
I think all this could have been avoided. I wonder if she did what she did basically to make the point that exactly what you're talking about, so that they would be forced to find her in contempt and put her in jail, and then there would be a cause. But I'm wondering if the idea is to do the job, why not say, you know what, because of my religious objections, I can't do that, but because I was elected to make sure that this machinery continues to flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get that done, well, I have 6 deputies here who would be glad to do it for you, but I myself will not.
Well, I never knew that. I wish they had put that out more in the news. I'm just worried about the slippery slope. That could have been me or you. Let's say that though we're not, clerks or whatever, elected. One day, this is going to sound really conspiratorial, like Alex Jones. what if we get a president who outlaws the Bible or Christian speech on the radio? I mean, this is the hate. There's a hatred of Christianity basically at the heart of this. It's an interesting idea, but those are my 2 cents. I don't want the criminalization of Christianity or those like you and I who are against gay marriage.
All right. Thanks for the call.
I don't know. Maybe someone can call and explain to me where in Christianity you're not allowed to sign a contract for other people.
Yeah,
I don't know.
All right. Let's see who's up next. This is John. John, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
I think the mistake might be in thinking that she's a victim, while the earthly rendition of it would be, oh yeah, that should never happen to a good Christian. On the opposite, like Peter was saying, maybe that was the whole point, was to show how bad it has gotten. I think it was a move of strength, and if we take anything negative of it, pardon me, there's a lot negative of it, but chiefly negative is that I think we should be embarrassed as a society that as Christians and as a society that we have let it get to this point of where the bad guys win and the Christians lose is embarrassing. But with the Christians win in the end. Okay. So she made her point, and we should rejoice in the fact that the point was made well, that there is a huge difference between standing on your principle as a Christian and in not.
All right. I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Catherine, this is Mike. Good morning, Mike.
I just got to, this has been said before, but what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and that gander in the White House did the exact same thing, and I don't see him sitting in the pokey, and by gosh, he should be, because he took an oath of office to uphold the laws and the Constitution of the United States and flipped everybody the birdie on that and said, no, I don't think I'll enforce that law. No, I don't think I'll follow that law. If the leader can't follow the laws, why pick on some poor little woman down there for whatever reason? Besides that, they can go to another county and get a marriage license or whatever. It's not like you've got to go to the next country. By the way, that might not be a bad idea if you want to go to the next country. Try getting a marriage license. For some countries, it'll be a hazardous deal. Maybe go to Iraq or someplace.
Gotcha. All right, Mike.
Yeah, but no, seriously, you've got umpteen people who will not take an oath of office. And incidentally, all of us ex-military people took an oath of office to uphold the Constitution. And I find it absolutely disgusting, demeaning, and having to listen to the knuckleheads around complain about this woman. And nobody says, well, if the head wheels can get away with, why are we picking on her? Get the ones that should be setting the example. Okay. If you can't lead by example, get out there and let somebody else. She's not affecting 300 and some million people.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the call. We're up against a break. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to second Mike's point. I think one of the things that's really clear here, and frankly, I personally don't support Kim Davis in this move, but we can talk about that later. But I think that the thing that's really interesting is watching liberals scream about what Kim Davis is doing and yet support, for example, the California clerk that was issuing these licenses against the law at the time. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to be for the law, you need to be for it when you like it and maybe when you don't like it, right? It's the rule of law, not the rule of what I think is right.
Okay. We're going to take a break. 721-1290. That's certainly makes sense to me. Catherine and Daryl, and line 3 was on for a second, but it's open. We're going to come right back with more of Talkback right after this. Just kicking things around a little bit here about, as Mike said, what's good for the goose is good, should be good for the gander.
Yeah, one of the hilarious things about this is all the hypocrisy that comes out after a situation like this, because frankly, there's people on both sides that are celebrating rule breaking when it's in their favor. Right. One of the things I thought was interesting was Hillary Clinton sent out a tweet. She said, quote, "Marriage equality is the law of the land." And this is the part. Pay attention and think of Hillary.
All right.
Officials should be held to their duty to uphold the law. End of story, period. That's right, Hillary. So quid pro quo favors for money to your husband and yours foundation right. And email servers that are passing along classified email as private, even though it's not supposed to happen.
A little Latin quid pro quo, all that good stuff. Let's get Catherine on the line. Hi, Catherine.
Well, good morning, guys.
What's up?
Well, I have a question, and this has nothing to do with the religious aspect of her civil disobedience, but it has to do with the legal aspect of her disobedience. Now, the Supreme Court, as I understand it, clarifies and rules whether laws are constitutional or unconstitutional. The legislative branch, both at the federal and the state, write the laws, right?
I'm with you so far, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So when the Supreme Court ruled on the same-sex issue, did it at that point avoid all laws having to do with marriage that did not expressly accept same-sex marriage? In other words, Kentucky law...
One of the things no, because one of the things that's an issue is now whether or not you can get a gay divorce.
Well, see...
In certain counties. I'm not joking. This is a real issue for people.
No, I've heard that. That's a guy in Tennessee, I believe. A county clerk in Tennessee. No, but my question, though, is if it voids all the marriage laws in states that do not, or that up to now have had marriage laws that indicate opposite sex and do not allow same sex, does that mean then if she had kept on issuing marriage licenses, she would have been in violation of Kentucky law because the legislature has not met to reform those laws as yet?
From what I understand, she wasn't issuing any licenses.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. She wasn't. And so in that case, wouldn't she then be in compliance because she was not, because after the Supreme Court decision, there was no law allowed, or all the laws were voided, weren't they? And if their law is voided, you can't be issuing marriage licenses if the law is voided.
That's a good point. That's good to think about. Hey, we got to run. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it very much. Line's open. Daryl, you're on Talkback. Hi.
Hi. Actually made some interesting points there. Also, since they're getting into this, how about that bakery in Colorado?
Yeah, exactly.
They want to make a cake for a couple, so they were threatening to shut them down. And if people don't want to do something, and they should have the right not to do that.
Well, the right of free association, exactly.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Because, like, the one thing she's fighting on is she don't want to have to sign these licenses.
Yeah,
so she hasn't either. So.
Let me ask you this, though. Okay, I think we do run into dangerous territory when public officials start to do this. Imagine, for example, you have a county sheriff who doesn't believe in gun rights and thinks that giving guns out is equivalent to killing kids or something like that, and says, I'm not going to offer concealed carry permits. I'm not going to issue those. That's a big deal. We don't want that. We don't want some individual taking the rule of law upon themselves simply because they're in a position of power. That's giving too much authority. That's what the Constitution is designed not to do, is to take those individual power sources away and distribute them with checks and balances.
Well, I feel lately the Supreme Court has been taking some of those rights away from us.
I think you're right. Look, I think that the Supreme Court's decision was stupid. I think that they did a bad job, especially when it comes to the issue of federalism, which is an important check and balance in the system. I think it damaged federalism in a dangerous way.
Oh, huge.
But there are better ways to work back against the system. I will say one big thing about Kim, though. At least she's taking her licks and going to jail. Yeah, when people were doing this on the other side,
right? Yeah.
When people were breaking the law and issuing the licenses, there weren't judges sending them to jail for breaking the law.
And this is the point that I've always made. Every time anybody's brought up the idea of civil disobedience, from Gandhi to Martin Luther King Jr. to whatever, okay? Civil disobedience has two parts, okay? The first is, I'm going to stand up for what I believe, okay? Right. The second part is, if what you believe goes contrary to the present code of law, then you need to be ready to suffer the consequences of disobeying that law, perhaps for the purpose of maybe changing the law. But until that happens, you're a lawbreaker. And if that means you go to jail or pay a fine, you go to jail or pay a fine. She's gone to jail and may even have to pay a fine. So in that, I admire her for following through on her civil disobedience.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you totally.
Hey, we got to take a break, or we got to run. We got some more calls in here. Marilyn, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Okay. People are calling me and asking me, what do they do with these aborted babies that they are harvesting? So I was looking up some articles that I've got here in my vast room of much information. I came across an article from 2001 says vaccines made from aborted babies. And I'd like to read a sentence. It says, when the article vaccine from aborted fetus cell lines judged morally acceptable hit several Catholic publications several months ago, the reaction of readers was one of shock, anger, and utter disbelief that this country has been quietly producing vaccines for the past 20 to 30 years from aborted, they use the word fetuses, I use the word babies. More shocked that we have unknowingly vaccinated our children using this tainted source, a more polite way of saying we have used pharmaceutical products from murdered babies.
Wow.
There is currently no other source available for three widely used vaccines, namely hepatitis A, chickenpox, and rubella. So another article I came across was one that I had brought down to the station a long time ago, was the fact that there's a product called Senomyx, Senomyx. It's in sucralose, and sucralose is a sweetener in many, many, many foods that we eat. And some of the companies, like PepsiCo, Pepsi, it's one of the little excerpts I underlined here. Be sure to read PepsiCo's attorney's response to the Securities and Exchange Commission in defense of Pepsi's use of murdered babies.
Wow. All right.
So
30 seconds, all I have. Go ahead.
Okay, there's a lot of companies, Nestle, Cadbury, Campbell's, Dentyne, Seattle's Best Coffee, Quaker Oats, Frito-Lay, Cheetos. There's all kinds of companies that use aborted babies for flavoring.
Wow.
It's real, you guys.
All right. Thank you, Marilyn. Appreciate the call. Alan and Renee, we're going to get you on in just a minute. 17. Away we go. We're going to come right back after this 1 minute timeout. Hey, we're back on Talkback and rapidly running out of time. So many different topics. We're kind of spinning all those plates in the air.
Sure.
Let's get to Alan on the line. Alan, thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. When Rob was on last Tuesday, I tried to get through and ask a question, but I couldn't get through. My question is based because of the decision on the gay marriage decision the Supreme Court recently made. And my question was simply this. Can the United States Supreme Court make a decision that is in direct violation of the U.S. Constitution? Now, my answer to that is yes, and here's why. Let me read you the 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. The Constitution gives no power to the federal government to do anything on marriage. So the default position had to be the 10th Amendment. And by making the decision that the Supreme Court made, I believe they totally violated the U.S. Constitution.
I think you're right. I think that's what I was saying. That's what I meant when I said I think they damaged federalism.
That's right. And I was going to ask Rob if the Supreme Court had ever been held accountable for any of their decisions. And if not, we've got a court system that's just totally without actually law.
Sure. The way that we hold the court accountable is by passing law, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way. If we disagree, we can, as with our legislation.
But then the Supreme Court turns around and finds the law to be, quote, unconstitutional, end quote, right? Isn't that their job?
Well, you can update the Constitution if you want. You can pass an amendment.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the Supreme Court has assumed more power than I think the founders originally intended.
Undoubtedly.
Well, I think that's true for every branch of government.
No, not the legislative
Actually,
branch.
I think the legislative branch has lost power.
They've give up their power.
Yeah. But yeah, they've ceded over to bureaucroes and the executive branch.
Executive branch.
So,
all right, Alan, thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it. And listen, you can contact Rob Nadelson through the I2I website.
Sure.
Renee, go ahead. You're on Talkback. Hi.
Hi. I was going to just say in passing on Bill Bennett this morning, there was a man on who said that Kerry knows all the people in the Middle East, and we don't want him. So that these people running for office for president don't know everyone doesn't necessarily mean that they're not qualified.
Sure, and I think that's a good point.
I was going to, the lady who was in jail, she made the point that she was voted in. This law was not there when she was voted in, and she would leave office if the voters voted her out, or in
if there was like a recall,
released her. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. So as it stands right now, she's still, and I just have to agree with the people who have said that she's taken up her cause, and there are other people on the other side who have disobeyed, and they're not in jail. They even write up to the president. So I don't necessarily think she's in the wrong.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if they were thrown in jail, you would never hear the end of it. There would be protests outside courtrooms all over the country. I mean, how unfair of you to enforce the law, you know?
I mean, I think it is really important that you look at your friends on the internet and look at the hypocrisy here. Because, look, and as I said before, I think it's dangerous when this stuff happens, when we start foregoing the rule of law for our own personal desires or wants as far as the law is concerned. I don't think it's the right approach, but at least she's taken her licks and going to prison for it or jail for it, unlike others who have done the exact same on the other side of the aisle and have not faced any time. In fact, have won elections afterwards and been promoted because of their actions.
Exactly.
Yes, I think we're very much becoming a lawless nation.
All right, Renee.
To the very top. Right to the very top. We're all doing our own deal.
Renee, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. All right, we have time for one more call. Candy, you have a minute. Go.
Okay. I think, I know there's a Supreme Court decision, and I can't cite it. I've been trying to think of it. That says you can't take a liberty and make it a crime. You can't take a liberty.
You can't take a liberty and
criminalize it.
No, well,
and
that or charge a fee or make it some kind of thing that you have to pay for or earn.
And she swore an oath to uphold the Constitution and her state constitution, but she didn't swear an oath not to follow her religious beliefs, and that's where I see the rubber meeting the road, and this is an atrocity and sets a bad precedent for this country. And also about the Planned Parenthood and the aborted baby fetuses, babies, and everything like that. That's appalling that our babies are getting vaccinations made out of other babies.
All right.
Thank you.
And with that, we're almost out of time. So, John, what's coming up on Monday? Well, it's not Monday.
No,
it's Tuesday.
Have Monday off. Yeah. So next Tuesday, we'll be speaking with Frank Clegg, former head of one of the pig dogs at Microsoft.
Oh, great.
And he's out on a kind of interesting tack. He's against our modern technology in this way, that it's not safe enough, that we are damaging ourselves with all the Wi-Fi signals that are going out in the air.
You mean physically?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
he wants safer technology. Okay. So he's with the group Canadians for Safe Technology, and we'll be talking with him.
Okay. Now, one thing, too, is because we won't be here Monday, there'll be no health talk. So from our friends at Providence St. Patrick Hospital, we will have another health talk program coming up 1 week from Monday on the 14th. So I just want to pass that along. And don't forget, Grizz game is Saturday. It's a gray out game. If it's going to rain, remember, you can't have umbrellas in the stadium. Just want to pass that along. You guys have a great and a safe Labor Day weekend. We will talk to you again on this program on Tuesday. God bless and have a great weekend.